Warning, the following documentary contains strong racial language from the offset and throughout that viewers may find offensive.
On the pitch, I've had players, players have called me a nigger, coon, players, I've heard I'm a black cunt from fans.
20,000 people doing the Nazi salute, had bananas thrown at me, I've been spat at, I had loads of things.
You gollywog, gorilla, monkey, banana man.
Everything you can think of, really, anything that's sort of racist that you could direct towards a black player, it's been directed to me.
It's shocking that in 2019, players are still being racially abused in football matches at the top and bottom level of our English game. We've all seen the recent Kick It Out programmes, but I truly believe you don't realise how bad racism is until you witness it for yourself. Sadly, I experienced this at the start of this season when a friend, Jordan Rose, was playing for Havant and Waterlooville in the National League. During the match, he received a racial slur from the stands, and it shocked me. But the thing that stayed with me was Jordan's reaction on the coach afterwards. Jordan, I want to go back to that time at Barrow where I heard you were racially abused, and I came onto the coach and I said, "Did you hear that?" And your reaction was almost to shrug it off, and that almost shocked me because I never really thought that's what it's like, that's how you have to deal with it.
I suppose I'm kind of just, personally, I'm just numb to it now. I've had it since 14 years old, not constant, it's not, but once you hear it once, you get it then. You understand that people are like that, and it's for me personally, with my parents, I would go to my parents and say, "Oh, what does this mean?" And then my mum would say that, there's some horrible people out there, and you just got to ignore it.
Some stats from Kick It Out, they actually released saying that they had 520 incidents reported last year for the 17-18 season, and that was an increase of 11%, and out of them, 53% were racial. So I guess my next question is, do you think racism is on the rise, or is it just more awareness of it and people reporting it?
I think that is the case. Society's becoming so much more PC now, and everyone has a voice and everyone has a platform, and I think that people are now just thinking, you know what, I don't have to put up with this. There's something I can do about it now. I've reported it before and nothing's happened.
It's sad that players like Jordan see no benefit in reporting their incidents to relevant authorities. It means that the figures released by Kick It Out of reported cases are in fact nowhere near the actual figure of racial abuse that happens within a football season.
This season alone, I've been racially abused 4 or 5 times. I've not reported it once because it doesn't work. It doesn't. Nothing happens. If you're at the top level and you are Danny Rose, Raheem Sterling, people care about those players, and they want to see people brought to justice for racially abusing those players in non-league, in the conference below, when you're getting 500 to 1,000 people there watching. It's not really, people don't care about those sort of players.
Former QPR and West Ham United striker Leroy Rossini is now Vice President of Show Racism, The Red Card, and author of It's Only Banter, which focuses on the racism he encountered throughout his lifetime. He believes it is vital that players report incidents after they happen.
And to Jordan, I would say to him, there are loads of people, you should need to get in contact with your union, you need to get in contact with Kick It Out and report it to them. So there is something laid down that we know that is laid down by Kick It Out, that they've got a record of this abuse, and then they can act upon it and they can deal directly with your football club.
Rossini, who has received an MBE for his work in anti-racism, also stresses that fans must come forward with any racism they hear at matches.
Certainly needs to be reported, and I'll report it to your football club. Because if there's lots and lots and lots of reports of these things, I promise you they will have to act upon it and maybe introduce a code of conduct in the crowd, and not only in the crowd but to their football players as well, a code of conduct by which they would have to abide by. But if you ignore it, that the person who is doing the abusing thinks, okay, this must be okay, because no one's actually said anything about it, so he keeps doing it. He might not do it to you, he might go and do it to someone else. So you should never ignore this sort of thing. It needs to be dealt with, but it needs to be dealt with sensitively, especially at non-league level.
Ebbsfleet United goalkeeper Nathan Ashmore also believes there should be procedures in place by which supporters can easily report any racial abuse they hear at matches. The 29-year-old believes that serious punishments for any racism at games will combat and reduce racism in the stands.
So like they get like 5 points deducted, or they get a massive fine, or they have like no fans at a game. I think that's the route I think we need to go down, just to cut it at the top, and then maybe it might start to go down and think, oh, they might think twice of saying something, think, oh, there's actually got to be not a punishment for myself, but a punishment for the club that I follow.
Raheem Sterling agrees and has made headlines by saying teams should be deducted 9 points if their fans racially abuse players. Nathan, like Jordan, has come under racial abuse throughout his career, and due to being a goalkeeper, he is more exposed to abuse from supporters behind his goal. How does it feel when you are racially abused on a pitch? Does it hit you then, or is it afterwards?
I remember last season I got one specific reason I got racially abused. As soon as I come out of the tunnel, went into my goal, whistles back to blow, and I got called "you monkey," and that was the start of the game. And I just thought, are you sure? So like the game's not even started, and I'm getting racial abuse straight away. And I was thinking, this ain't right. But in my head, I was thinking, right, I'm going to show you how good I am, and I played well that game as well. But then afterwards, I was thinking, what's going on? Like, what? Why? I don't know what goes through people's minds. Why would they do that?
Leroy Rossignol believes that the media needs to continue to report racism so that more funding comes to relevant organisations. This will help to combat racism throughout all levels of English football.
And when it's in the newspapers and people see it as blatantly as that towards a Premier League footballer, it's funny how they want to react to it. Whereas to your friends at non-league football, they think, oh, maybe it's nothing. Well, it isn't nothing. And we've got to deal with it right across the board, because Raheem Sterling and Danny Rose are representing those players, not only at the non-league level, but play on Sunday, kids who play at under 7 football, under 6 football. They represent all those kids coming through the system. And hopefully those under 6, when they're under 15s, under 18s, adults, they won't have to deal with it if it's dealt now in the correct way.
The sad thing is that most black players experience racial abuse when they are still playing at youth level. Jordan has brought me to Woodside Park in Lymington, where he played football throughout his childhood. He was racially abused for the first time whilst playing for his junior side, Lymington Sprites, at the age of just 14.
I was literally just shepherding the ball off the pitch, and he was trying to get round, and I was just holding him there, and the ball was off the pitch, and you know, for our throw-in. And I remember him just saying, oh, you nigger, like that. And I just thought, like, yeah. I just looked at him. You know, I wasn't, you know, upset, angry. I just thought, what, like, why? Why have you had to say that?
Just a shocking thing.
Yeah, like, why? How has what's just happened caused you to say that? You can't piece it together. You know, you can't possibly understand, like, why what has just happened on the football pitch has made you react like that. You know, I've not done a bad tackle. I've not, you know, kicked the ball at your mum on the side. I've not done anything for you to have that reaction.
Just a chuck away comment, and that.
Yeah,
do you think that's the problem with it in general?
And that was the first time I thought, wow, that's racism.
It is shocking that innocent children are racially abused playing the sport they love. Nathan was first racially abused at the age of just 9 whilst trialling for an academy side.
I was the only black player on the team, and I got racially abused by parents and like granddads and stuff like that at the game. My mum was just had to stand there and take it because she was there on her own. Like, just to think my mum was just standing there by herself, and the abuse that I was getting, it's crazy.
After winning his second Player of the Season award in a row, the Ebbsfleet keeper believes racism is still as serious as it was decades ago.
Racism it's always been there, it hasn't gone away, and it will never go away. It's just the fact that it's more broadcasted now than ever. So something happens, it's on TV. As soon as something happens, an incident happens, what's the first person do? Get their phone out and try and record it. That's why it's broadened out so much now. Since back I don't know, 10, 15 years ago, you couldn't do that. It was just word of mouth, or it might be in the paper if it was a good enough story.
Organisations such as Show Racism the Red Card believe education in schools is vital. Rosenia believes that it will reduce racism within society, therefore leading to a reduction within football.
Racism the Red Card, what we do, we go into schools, we go into unions, we do teacher training. But when you go into schools and you get an environment where I'll say to a classroom of 30 kids, look, you can say anything you want in this classroom. It's a safe environment. Let's get it out. Let's get all those words. What do you think they mean? And you deal with it. By the time they come out the other side of that workshop, it's a really positive vibe. You get people saying, well, one, I'm not going to do that again, and two, I'm going to promote this work in a positive way. And that's from our kids, because they get it, by the way. I think it's the point that we've got to get across is that we've got to get out to all the schools. We've got to get out to all the teachers and do teacher training with all teachers, and we've got to do work with all the unions, because the unions back Show Racism the Red Card really, really well. And once we do that, I think we'll really see a fantastic difference in people's attitude to racism.
What I found out is that racism is a serious problem, not just at the top, but also at the bottom of our English game. What I think needs to happen next is serious punishment needs to be handed out to any fan that is racial to a player at a match. And then I believe education is the way forward to maybe, just maybe, eradicate all racism from our terraces.